This is Wrestling Reverb. And now your host, Josh Robinson.
Hello everyone and welcome to Wrestling Reverb. I am your host Josh Robinson and someone is back today. Mr.
Hi.
Ryan Madden is back and we're just going to kind of go into a few things because I've been asked on Twitter by a few people about like, why do you like pro wrestling? What's your kind of favorite stuff? And, you know, blah, blah, blah. So today it's not going to be about anything kind of going on with the current landscape of Raw and SmackDown and stuff like that after my rant on Raw last week on Sasha and Bayley. So we're going to talk about some other things.
It's going to be random.
Yeah, just kind of going to we're not going to do kind of like last time because I don't want to do the same thing. That'll be another episode later down the line. We will go back and do some more topics from a hat because people like that. And I like that. That was fun. And we kind of just talked for an hour and a half and we're like, oh, shit. Like we've been talking
It went
for so
fast.
long. So let's just kind of go into things. I want people to kind of understand what I love about pro wrestling, what Ryan loves about pro wrestling, what we agree on, and what we kind of just don't agree on so much and stuff like that. So, I just kind of ask you, who is your favorite wrestler of all time? Of all time, just one person that comes to.
It'd be Eddie Guerrero.
So it's Eddie.
Yeah.
I like Eddie. I have no problem with Eddie Guerrero.
I don't know what it was. I think it was just his frog splash that he did.
Like his finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, lit. Eddie's pretty good. It was sad when he died. I remember when
I was upset.
Yeah, I remember that time and stuff like that. It was not a fun time in wrestling. Obviously not. But like
No.
he was just kind of on that cusp of being from great to amazing.
Yeah.
As if terms of star appeal.
Yeah.
It was that was a rough
I don't,
time.
and I think about it now, I don't know why he was my favorite. Like, if I was to watch him now, I'd be like, yeah, he's good, but he wouldn't be my favorite. But back then, anytime he would come out, I'd just be so hyped for him.
So he's your favorite of all time then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's your favorite right now?
Right now?
Currently, yeah.
That
That's a harder question almost.
is.
Because you watch it so much and everything gets so thrown at you that you can't kind of stop and look
Yeah.
at it.
If I was to think of one person, it'd be The Miz. I always go back to The Miz. I don't know what it is about him. His in-ring performance is good. His mic performance is good. He's just a good heel. Everything about him, I like to watch him when he's on the screen.
Yeah, Miz is really good. For me, my all-time favorite, I've said it before on this, is Chris Jericho. I love Chris Jericho. Everything about Chris Jericho is just...
He's great.
He is someone that not only is... He was so good, you know, in the early 2000s and towards, you know, also... But he's so reinventive. He just... Even if he can't maybe now keep up as much, although he still can... He's getting older, so like he can't keep up as much as he did in the ring, but he just reinvents his character. He's never the same.
No.
That's what's good about Chris Jericho. I just think he's so relevant all the time. That's what I just kind of like about Jericho, and the stuff he's doing now in New Japan is really fun, and he just does things for himself now instead of worrying about so much about everything else. He just does it, and like what sticks, what doesn't. But for the most part, he kind of hits a home run all the time with everything. Like everything he does is just kind of golden.
He's always loved.
Yeah, so Chris Jericho is my favorite of all time. I think right now,
Bayley.
it's not Bayley. Well, I don't hate Bayley. Everyone kind of knows that. That's where I think one disagreement kind of happens with most people that I watch wrestling with is everyone just kind of shits all over Bayley. I don't shit on Bayley. I know her appeal. I get it.
She's just not being used right.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get into what I said last week is that on the Raw review, I kind of stated this, so I won't go completely balls deep into this, but I am nothing but a fan of what's been happening with Bayley and Sasha. And Bayley and Sasha have been used right to get where they are. If we didn't have anything that's gone the way it did, it wouldn't be where we're at now, and we wouldn't be talking about the potential of what could happen.
Yeah.
It will happen.
It will.
And I'm not going to get into it because I'll start ranting again, and I'll just repeat myself, which is what I don't want to do. But for anyone that hasn't watched my Raw review from last week, and you'll know what I'm talking about. And just, even if you don't agree with me, just take the 6-7 minute rant that I do on this and just listen to it for what it is. Just hear my point. And even if you don't agree with it, and I invite people to throw their opinions at me because I'm all ears, but that is my stance on it. I like a slow build, and I'm not on the 90% of everyone else where everything has to happen now. Sometimes it's better to wait.
Yeah, they will want it fast paced.
Yep, and I'm just not... I want the match as much as anyone else does. I know that I want the match as much as anyone else does, but let's get to it. If it's going to be as... If we want it, we all want it to succeed. We all want it to be as good as Brooklyn. It can't be as good as Brooklyn if it's just thrown at us with nothing. It's got to build. Let's let this build and let this happen. Why can't we have it happen on a bigger stage? We just need it at, whatever the next pay-per-view is. Although SummerSlam is a great stage, but you look at everything else on SummerSlam, it'll just get buried and lost.
Have it at Evolution.
That's what I said on last week's thing. I was like, let's have it on Evolution.
Yeah.
Why not build to Evolution, have Sasha versus Bayley as a marquee, the biggest non-title match of that show?
Yeah.
Why can't we have that? Why do we have to, maybe when these women's tag team titles inevitably come in, why don't they have a run as women's tag team champions? And then it's even specialer when they do fuck each other up.
Yeah.
But Bayley, whatever they're doing with them, hats off, keep doing it. I'm on that stage. And I know I'm in the minority for that because a lot of people are like, just turn on each other. And trust me, I've said it many times. I want that as much as anyone else, but that's just, nothing organic happens in wrestling anymore. Everyone just gets it, and then it gets out of the way, and everyone's like, this is boring.
And they complain.
Yeah. So just let it organically
let it simmer for a little bit.
And just, I just won't. Yeah, but anyway, my favorite right now, I kind of thinking about it, there's no one I like more than Becky Lynch at the moment.
Oh.
I don't like anyone more than I like Becky. I want everything for Becky. But I'm scared at that same time is that when she does get it, will I care? Because that's what happened when she won the Women's Championship. Like, the first ever SmackDown Women's Champion was Becky Lynch. And when she won it, it was exciting, but then she just kind of had it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait for her to lose it, which I'm scared about happening now, which is why the more time I've had to think about it, which is what I also said on last week's SmackDown review, is more I've had to think about Charlotte being added into that match, the better it is.
Yeah.
Because I want the journey from Becky. It is Becky's time, but just think of all the other things that could happen out of this. But anyway, I won't go into that because that was on my SmackDown review. But I think Becky's probably, on the main roster side of things, is probably what I'm into most. I know you don't watch NXT, but if I was to go with someone from NXT, I think I'd go with Bianca Belair because she's just got so much potential and so much... I just see so many things about her, and she's just really good for someone who has not been doing this for very long, and I just see nothing but, shoot her to the moon on that kind of stuff. But that would be my favorite now. Another question I have for you is just something that I don't think I've ever known about you. What's your favorite match of all time? Which is a hard question. I've said mine. So.
I have to say the last match between Brock and Roman.
Oh, God.
Favorite match of all time. No.
I'm not a person... Actually, we won't get into that. Let's just keep
No,
going.
what was that?
No, I'm just not a person that constantly shits on Roman Reigns.
No. But that match was boring.
Oh, that match was... I've talked about that match on here before. I don't love it.
If I had to think about it, I'd say which kind of brought it up before when we were watching the thing, would be the career versus streak match between Undertaker and Shawn Michaels.
The second one? You like the second one more than you like the first one?
I think I like both, because they both told a story.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know, because they're both in like my top 10 of favorite wrestlers, and to have them to go at it, it was just great. I loved it.
Yeah, every time Shawn and Taker did something, kind of was always great. Let's just keep going. Rock or Austin?
I gotta go Austin. But at the same time, I like The Rock. But I don't know. I think it's because Austin just really did whatever he wanted.
I would probably say more so Austin than Rock.
Yeah.
But not by much.
No.
They were they were kind of coming to the tail end of their runs as we kind of I started watching, really getting into wrestling. Was they're at the tail end. Rock was going on to Hollywood. Austin kind of was going through all that stuff where he kind of walked out and stuff like that. I only saw like the later end of their stuff, really. I knew about them before.
Yeah.
But obviously, because they're like the two biggest.
Stuff.
You know. So yeah, I would say Austin too.
But I'm going to take a question back. What's your favourite match of all time?
Everyone knows my favorite match of all time. I've said it on here before. It's Sasha and Bailey at Brooklyn.
See, I was going to say that too.
It's my favorite match of all time. There's not really much that comes really too close to it. It was always Edge and Mick Foley at WrestleMania 22. That hardcore match was always my favorite match of all time, which is weird for me because I usually prefer more wrestling-based matches than I do hardcore matches.
Yeah.
But that was always my favorite until I watched Sasha and Bailey, and that nothing has beaten that for me.
And when you showed me that match between them two,
it's so
holy shit!
I watched that match. I don't know if I watched that takeover live. I think I was at work that day, and I come home, and my older brother had watched it live, and he walked into my room as I was watching takeover, and he was like, "Oh, what are you up to?" I'm like, "Oh, Sasha and Bailey's like, get fucking ready for this," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" And I was excited for it because I knew, and it's weird because that match was kind of like Sasha got called up to the main roster at that point. It's when you weren't really watching wrestling. You kind of fell apart, fell out of it for a little while. But Sasha had been called up to the main roster, so it was kind of clear that Sasha was going to drop the championship to Bailey. But it didn't fucking matter.
The match was still good.
It did not matter that I kind of knew that Bailey was going to win this. It was Bailey's time. Bailey was at the peak. Like there's no hotter time to be Bailey than that point. When she won that championship, that place went nuts, and Brooklyn is, I've said this before too, Brooklyn is my favorite crowd, and I think it's a little bit because of that match. I think that's when I kind of fell in love with Brooklyn. They just go ham. It's just, that match is my favorite. Nothing has really come too close to that. Other than the only other match that's ever come close to that, for me, like, personally, there's been two. It was the John Cena and AJ Styles match at the Royal Rumble in 2017, and it was Sasha and Charlotte on the very first post-episode of the post-draft episode of Raw. They're the only two matches that have come close to Sasha and Bailey, but I don't know if, I won't say it will never get topped because you never know what's next, but it's going to be very hard. And that's why when I go on my thing about Sasha and Bailey is that I, out of all people, am so highly critical of their stuff because that match is so close to me, and so whatever they do has to be legitimately perfect for me to even think it's good.
Yeah.
So everything they do, I'm so attached to, and I'm so just want the best, but I'm going to be more critical than, watching it with anyone else because that match just, I hold so close to me. So that match is my favorite match. I've said it many times. I'll continue to say it many times. That is my favorite match of all time. And I got kind of, people didn't really, they were like, "Oh, really? That's your favorite match of all time?" And I was like, "Yeah, it is. That is a women's match is my favorite match of all time. I don't give a shit. Women's wrestling is the most exciting part of wrestling to me." Here is something that I'll go into, is that a lot of people are like, "You only like women's wrestling when it got cool." Bullshit.
No.
I watched women's wrestling when it was at its lowest. Like, I'm talking like when it was like Kelly, and no disrespect to all of those girls, but when it was like that era when they weren't getting a lot of opportunities, when they were having 2-minute matches, I still cared about it more than anything else because I think I was waiting. Wrestling was going through a point in, 2008, 2009, 2010, so on, where it was just kind of stale, wrestling in general. So, like, I was waiting for something just to come out of the shadows. And those group of girls, there was always that little moment within those years where something would be like, that was really good.
Yeah.
This could be bigger than what it is. And then when you start going into, like, I loved Eve Torres. That was my first real, after, like, Trish and Mickey and that all kind of hovered away from wrestling. And, Beth was coming to an end and stuff like that. Eve Torres was the first women's wrestler, or diva at the time, that I attached onto at that period, where I was like, I like this girl. Like, she's just a bitch. Like, she's just, that typical. And then they started going into the stuff with Caitlyn, and they actually had a story, and then, they actually started organically building something for the women. at that time, and I was like, this is starting to take off a little bit, and then they just kind of let Caitlyn sit, and then she fought AJ, and then that kind of started, and that's when I fell in love with AJ Lee, and then NXT started coming, and then the women's, I liked it before it was cool to like it. It's now cool to like women's wrestling.
Yeah, and even when I first met you, you were even talking about him back then.
Yeah, like women's wrestling, and it was hard to have wrestling conversations with people because that was what I was most involved in.
Yeah,
was
it's not a bad thing.
3-minute diva segment that they used to get, where it was just this thrown together match. They tried to make something out of it, and you could tell they had girls that wanted to do more than they were given the opportunity for, but that was just the time. And I don't take back any of it, because if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have it now.
Yeah.
If it was always this kind of level, it wouldn't be as exciting as it is now. I mean, that's just my take on it. But yeah, people always are like, oh yeah, blah, 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 that's your favourite match. Yes, it is my favourite match, and I'm proud to say that it's my favourite match.
And with me, back when I was younger, I couldn't really get into him because my dad would always skip the matches.
Yeah, and
he wasn't into him.
A lot of people did.
But ever since I started hanging out with you and watching him, my appreciation for him grew so much.
And I'm not just saying I just love women's wrestling. I love all wrestling. Yeah. It's just that is just whatever I'm most attached to. I don't know if I always will be, but I'm just enjoying the ride while I can, because this is something to get excited about. Wrestling is different now. Like, it's not like we know in wrestling in general, everyone that kind of involves themselves watches it so much. So it's kind of like although I get into everything, I can't just be hooked into a good wrestling match. It has to be a great wrestling match for me to be. I see good matches every week. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, this is just standard.
Yeah.
I need to be something else for it to really draw me in. But like, I'll get involved in any story that they throw at me. I'll talk about it. Whatever. It might be a little boring than the rest of them, but I'll still watch everything. You've seen, like, when I watch, especially a pay-per-view, I don't generally sit around on my phone. I'm generally watching everything. It's the main thing that I separate myself from everyone else is that I take in every aspect of a 4 or 5 hour show. Mm-hmm. I watch it from start to finish. I watch every bit of the kickoff. I watch every bit of the wrestling, every backstage segment. I watch everything. I am that kind of fan. I'm not going to change the kind of fan I am. That's just how I take in all content.
Yeah. In
wrestling or in whatever I watch, I try to kind of stay involved in anything I kind of watch. It's just how I am.
That's fair.
Let's go a bit of left of field. What's your favorite WWE video game of all time? Because I don't know about you, but I own every one of them.
You do. They are sitting behind me.
It's on my Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see my little... I own every single game, pretty much, that except for the GameCube games. I own them all. So what would be your favorite... one that... Not even, like... what you think is the best wrestling video game of all time, but like the one that you can picture sitting down and playing.
I would probably have to say I remember sitting down and playing 2009. We had that on, I reckon it was PS2. And it'd be me and my 3 brothers would sit down, take it in turns, going like one-on-one.
Yeah.
And we'd play it for hours and hours and just wouldn't stop. And then we'd create our own characters, making stupid divisions, like having 4 guys in like this one division and have them face each other. We wouldn't even be playing it. They'd just be computers and we'd just like go on for them. That's the one I remember playing the most.
The most one I remember playing, and this was only it was from a different standpoint, but it was SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 because it was the first game that I didn't have to share with my older brother. My mum got me I had my own PlayStation 2, and I finally was able to have my own copy, so my older brother wouldn't hog it and me just watch. So that was the first one that I remember playing the most. My favorite is SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. I love that game. I play that game so much even now. I love that game so much.
It's so bad. It's good.
It's so good. It's so good. And it was weird because for a very brief period of time in between moving towns for a few months, I didn't really cut the early 2000 and like middle of 2002, I kind of tapped out of wrestling because I couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
So that game I never owned because it came out when I wasn't watching wrestling. So that was a game I never owned as a kid. I just owned it later in life, and like I used to hire it from the video store. Remember like Blockbusters and or whatever Video
good
Easy,
old
whatever
video
we had
stores.
around here. I used to go and hire it for $10 a week, and I'd just play it. I never bought it because I was so young because I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
So I never bought it, and I just remember hiring it all the time, playing the King of the Ring mode in it. I always used to play. But yeah, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 is probably my favorite. I played that a lot. A lot of times. GM mode, all that kind of stuff. Wrestling video games, I own them all now. I get them every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kind of...
And you won't stop.
No, I won't stop buying them. I can't picture a time where I won't be watching wrestling. I'll be one of those people that just don't fall out of it. I know a lot of people as a kid watch it and then they just kind of fall off of it because some people just grow out of it and stuff like that. I just never did. I just never grew out of it. I don't think I ever will. I'll be one of those people at 40 years old that still watch wrestling. I just think that's just the thing that's going to happen.
It won't.
It's just my biggest... I don't watch anything more than I watch wrestling. I don't get involved with anything more than I involve myself with
and
wrestling.
you can't anyway, because you're the only person that will keep me up to date if I can't. So
I'm very
I need you.
news hub of wrestling, and just everything excites me. Just pay-per-view to pay-per-view, Raw to SmackDown to just... I don't know, there's something about it that just captures me. It just will never kind of leave my side, I guess. But what's another thing I could ask you? What's your favorite finisher of all time? Well, did you already answer it? Was it the frog splash? I don't know.
No, that's what I like to see. My favorite would have to be the spear, because I used to do that to my brothers all the time. It's so fun to do, just to throw yourself at someone.
The spear's lit. I like the spear. My favorite is I think I may have told you this a couple of weeks ago, but it's the Widow's Peak. And for anyone that doesn't know what the Widow's Peak is, do yourself a friggin' favor and look it up. Victoria used to do it, and she'd get someone up on their shoulders with their chin, and then just... It's hard to explain, but it's just a very, like... It looks believable. That looks like it would be painful. Like and the super kick, but that's so overdone now. It's just everyone does the super kick now, and it's just kind of lost its value to me. But the Widow's Peak would be my favorite finisher of all time. That move is just so... When Victoria first came in, she didn't have a finisher, and it was a snap suplex. And I used to think it was the most awful thing, because Victoria was so cool and like crazy and like was obsessed with Trish Stratus or whatever, and just was like whatever she was. And she had a snap suplex as her finisher, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? Like, what is this move? Like, it's
so different.
And then she had the Widow's Peak, and I was like, that's cool. And then, but that was when it was kind of I was getting a bit over Victoria. And I think it's when it was towards the end of her championship run. I've been watching 2003 Raws lately, and I'm up to WrestleMania 19, and she just dropped the title to Trish Stratus. Shocking. And
oh no.
She just started doing that move, and it's just kind of like, whoa, like that move is so cool. Like, I don't think, and then thinking about it, I don't think there's a move I like more than that. There's moves I like, but I don't think I like anything more than that.
That one always comes back
to
it.
It's just a cool move. It's just very believable. Here's something about now. So, as we've stated before, we're going to the Super Showdown in Melbourne in October.
Yes. Excited.
Yes, we are very excited, but I guess the way the question comes from is that we're seeing The Undertaker at that event. He's fighting Triple H, very last time. That's what they say anyway, but it probably fucking won't be. Anyway, not the point. We're very excited to see The Undertaker, as of everyone else, but I guess what the question is for you is that, do you think The Undertaker should stop wrestling?
Yes. I think he should.
This is going to be very unpopular, I think. But, go on. Go explain yourself.
I feel like it's not that he's just too old, I feel. There's so many new superstars coming in that like need a push or whatnot, but they're always going back to like the old superstars. Always going back to the ones who can't keep up with the... Although, actually, in saying that, the last time I seen Undertaker wrestle was against John Cena, and he kicked his ass.
I mean, that was a little bit different though because that was so short. But
that's what I mean. I feel like that's how long the Undertaker can go for before he gasses himself out.
oh no, he was at the Greatest Royal Rumble.
Oh, was
He
it? I
wrestled-
didn't see that.
Oh, okay. I watched that. He wrestled Rusev and it was much longer and he did fine.
He did.
So to your point,
Maybe he can go on then.
I don't see. I'm on both sides. He should stop and he should keep going. The only reason I say he should stop is that I don't want my memory of the Undertaker, not so much for me, but for a newer fan, their memory of the Undertaker to be a shell of the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Also, for his health, I don't want him to be like, yeah, I can do this still, and then wrestle a few times a year and hurt himself again, and then, whatever happens to his health. He is getting older, and he's obviously at the tail end, and, he hasn't got too many more matches left in him, but I think maybe...
He can't keep on doing it forever.
Yeah, and, I think it needs to start tiling back on that reliance of, we all want The Undertaker to wrestle. We all collectively wish he could wrestle forever, but it's just not reality. And I think even us as fans need to stop going, it's WrestleMania, who's The Undertaker wrestling? It's we've got to start thinking in the next, maybe not the next WrestleMania. I think maybe he's got one more Mania left in him, to be honest. But I think we need to start getting to that realization of, it's WrestleMania, The Undertaker's not going to be there. We knew this was going to happen. Move on.
And I thought he was done when, he laid his
stuff
in the middle of the ring, and then that was it. I thought that was the end, but now he's coming back, and
I don't know. I'm not. And it's not a complaint at all because I, like anyone else, like to see the Undertaker and stuff like that. It's just I don't want that. Yeah, it's a weird. It's a kind of two-pronged answer, but yeah, it's yes and no.
Yeah,
I see. Yeah. Both sides of it, but more so leaning towards maybe it's time to maybe a couple more and then
kick up the feet, open up the newspaper,
and
drink
just
some
kind
coffee,
of ride off
and
into
fade
the
away.
sunset. And there's nothing to be ashamed of at all because he's had probably one of, if not the greatest career of all time.
Oh, definitely.
It's just there's not really too much argument about that. He's so collectively respected that you shit on the Undertaker and wrestling fans will unite whether we hate each other or not. And
maybe
that's another thing that I think every wrestling fan can agree on is Taker. You don't shit on Taker.
No.
And you shouldn't. He's like God almost in wrestling.
Definitely.
But yeah.
And then even if he stops, goes to a random town, becomes the mayor, and then fights his brother.
Oh, Kane. That was that's another person that should probably think about. Well, now that he's mayor and stuff like that, I don't think he's going to have a lot of time on his hands to be wrestling and stuff like that. But, after talking about The Undertaker, let's talk about something a bit more current. I was talking about them before, but I have said on this previous podcast, and some people have hassled me about this, and I've talked about the Riot Squad and how they shouldn't be together. They're just three thrown together women. And my take on it was that that's what makes them the Riot Squad, is that they're so different. You've got Liv, who is this blonde, young, little, attractive, sassy girl. And then you've got Sarah Logan, who's so rough and tough. And you've got Ruby, who's so just alternate and just different. And, the tattoos and, the real wrestling of the group. But you could be on the side of a lot of people that maybe the Riot shouldn't be together.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of them together. They do work well, I feel. But then there's some parts that I could see them being individuals. I'm on the fence about it. I want to see if they can do more with them. But then at the same time, when I first seen them, I seen that they were just trying to copy... what was it? It was Revolution or
Absolution.
Absolution. Yeah. Sorry, yes. They just look like carbon copies of them. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very much on the fence. Can you see them going anywhere, being a group?
This is my take. I get what you're like. As a group, there's only so much you can do. And especially with a smaller division. Like, there's not as many girls. There just isn't.
Because that's
as
what
many girls
happened
as men.
with the Shield.
Yeah.
They could only go so far
But
before.
even, like, my thing is that, okay, let's do what you're saying. Let's split them up.
Yeah.
Those 3 girls, with maybe the exception of Liv because of the way she looks, will get fucking lost. They will just be nothing. At least as a unit, there's 3 of them. There's numbers. There's strength in numbers. They can probably do more with a unit rivalry-wise than they can with just Ruby. Or Sarah Logan, no offense to Sarah Logan, but out of the 3, she'll be the first one to get lost.
Yeah.
And just do nothing. And she'll just be another number. You know what I mean? Like, you've got people on, especially on the Raw side, I think there's like 10 girls, 9 girls, I think. You've got like Mickie James, Alicia Fox, Dana Brooke, Alexa Bliss, Ronda Rousey, Sasha Bailey, Sarah, Liv, Ruby. That's 10 people there, 11 people there.
Yeah.
You think Ronda's doing her stuff with the women's title. Bliss is always going to be the number 1 heel.
Mm-hmm.
Sasha and Bailey are always going to do their stuff. And then what, is Ruby Riott going to feud with Dana Brooke? I just don't think that's just something that's going to happen. So to your point, I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, maybe they can. One individual could maybe do more. Maybe Ruby gets pushed, or Liv goes to do other things. But they're going to get lost so much easier individually than they will as a unit.
Yeah.
Because of the numbers. Because they're that collective unit. They can always be that other team that someone can fight. And if they're having women's tag team titles, they're going to need teams that are together. So the Riots are perfect. They've been together long enough where they're a formidable tag team or a trio.
Yeah.
So they can kind of do that.
Yeah, because I was about to say, like, I think the other problem is there's only one title in the division. So let's say they stick together, one of them gets the women's title, then it's like, you could see the other 2 getting jealous with that. And then
Yeah, but that's when, so say Ruby's the leader, obviously. I mean, they're called the Riot Squad. But
yeah.
say in an instance where Ruby Riott wins the women's championship, couldn't you almost see the Riots kind of know their spot with Ruby anyway? Couldn't you see that as a cool kind of story where Ruby keeps the title because she has 2 backups?
Yeah.
So couldn't that be something different than just seeing Alexa Bliss on top or Carmella on top with just being bitches?
Yeah, but at the same time, isn't the whole point of any division to get that title? You want to get the number 1 title because you want to be seen as the number 1.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying, but for examples of stuff like this, you look at groups like the New Day. Okay, yes, there's tag team titles, I understand that.
Yeah.
But they've always wanted what's best for each other, and if that means Kofi Kingston being the WWE champion, they've always said, we're going to stick together and we'll do anything we can to help Kofi.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be the same with the Riot Squad?
I guess, yes, it could be. But with the New Day, if they get the tag team titles, aren't they allowed to, like, flip between each other?
What about if there's women's tag team titles in 5 months? Can't they flip?
Oh, for sure. But, like, right now, could that be the same thing? Like, could you see them still sticking together? And then
I see them sticking together more so than breaking up anytime soon.
Yeah.
That's just my take on it. Especially when Ruby comes back from injury. I just see them more valuable together right now than I do them breaking up.
I think what they need, as we were saying, is they need them tag team titles. Or another title or something.
I've had my thoughts on the women's tag team titles, and that is, I just don't think I think it's a good idea, and it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen, but I just don't think it's necessarily good for right now. I just don't think the amount of time they give to, the main story. You've got basically 2 storylines running all the time for each women's division. Well, more so 2 storylines on Raw and then 1 on SmackDown. But you look at, like, the time they give the title, the Raw Women's Championship, and the other one gets pushed to the side a little bit more. Like, Sasha and Bailey's still getting their time, but I mean, like, it's not as important as the Women's Championship. If you try to add women's tag team titles in there, wouldn't they just kind of get pushed away from the main championship storyline? But that's just opinion based. That's not really me. That's just my opinion on that. I don't think a lot of people see it that way, but I just try to think realistically of things. I just want everything to work properly.
Yeah.
I don't want things to just, if they throw in women's tag team titles right now, it would just kind of be like, yeah, it'd be exciting for the time, and then when it actually, in a few months' time, no one will give a shit about it. Like, let's have its own little spotlight and make sure that it means something before you just throw them at us. I'm glad they didn't do it right now. They're obviously not doing it. Maybe they're saving it for Evolution, which is fine. It gets its own, it's on its own pay-per-view.
It makes sense.
It'd be fine to do it then. But I just think it's just more so like later on. Like, what is it going to mean something by the time we get to WrestleMania, for example?
Yeah.
I don't want it to just be like, here it is a tag random two girls together because they have nothing else to do, so we're just going to give them the tag team championships. I hate when that happens. So
Just give
that's
it to these guys.
And I just don't want. So if you have the women's tag team titles and then the two main championships, I don't want it to be every women's feud is a championship feud. I like having feuds that aren't for the title. That
Just more for the story.
Yeah, like more for the story than it's just like we're getting the championship.
Yeah.
Yes, you can do a story within a championship stuff, but I don't know. That's just a personal preference. What is... Okay, we'll do a little bit of a game. We're going to play a little bit of a word association game. So I'm just going to throw random matches or people or whatever at Ryan, and he's just going to give me the first thing that comes to his head. If we want to elaborate on it, we will, but we'll just kind of keep going. But it's got to be kind of rapid fire.
Am I throwing them back at you after? Or you just going to...
We'll just go with you for now, and then we'll see how we're going.
Okay.
Okay? And
I'll
just
try.
kind of keep it rapid fire here. If you take too long, I'll yell at you. I'll rant like I do on my other podcast.
Oh, please don't.
Okay, we'll start off.
Okay, I'm not ready. Go.
Brie Bella.
Brie mode.
That's the first thing you think about is her being drunk.
Yes. That's what I remember watching. Her and Paige going out,
Oh my god.
and Brie getting smashed.
Total Divas.
Yeah.
Man, what a time. Just Brie mode. That's funny. Triple H.
The game.
Okay, that's fair. Goldberg.
The bloody head. When he was cutting that promo and his forehead started bleeding.
Oh, because he headbutted his door.
Yeah.
I was like, what? What are you talking about?
That was so random.
Oh, man. Okay, the NWO.
Hulk Hogan's black patch in his beard.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Only because I've seen he's rocking that again in a recent photo of him.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
I seen about that. He teased this big... I don't know if you know about this. I don't know if I've talked to you about this, but October 27th, the day before Evolution, I don't know if this has anything to do with it. Obviously, it wouldn't. But Hulk Hogan put on his Twitter, he's going to make an announcement that's going to be the biggest in wrestling history.
Is he going to be in Evolution?
Oh, God. Imagine that. He would
As a
beat
woman?
everybody. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Imagine if it was Brooke Hogan. Let's not even get into that. Jesus Christ. Now that we're just kind of on that reality show subject, Total Divas. What's the first word that comes to your mind when you think Total Divas?
Brie mode.
It's Brie mode. Do you think Total Divas is something that'll just hang around forever?
I would say so, yes. Because in saying that, they can always bring in like the other superstars into the mix,
they can.
and then have a new.
It's never going to be the same.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bellas are always going to be on that show.
Yeah.
And I think Natalia will always be on that show.
Oh, of course.
But other than that, they've kind of shipped and changed
Yeah.
cast members around. So I guess you can always keep it fresh. And I think reality TV in general is not going away.
No,
so
not at all.
I think that format is kind of just for that fan base. It's just kind of going to stick there.
And it works.
It works, yeah. I mean, I used to watch Total Divas just for the sake that it was a wrestling show to me. It's about wrestling.
Yeah.
But I don't really keep up. I keep up with it, but I don't really watch it much anymore. I don't watch Total Bellas. I keep up with what's going on just because it's just wrestling news kind of.
But you started getting into Ms. and Mrs.
Okay, that started, but that's kind of lit though. That's actually
I haven't seen it yet.
It's pretty good. I don't know if I'll keep watching it. I've watched 2 episodes. I've watched the 2 episodes that are out, but I don't know if I'll keep watching it. It's okay.
It is?
It's alright.
What about Total Bellas? Would you keep up with them?
Well, no, but I keep up with it, but I've not watched one single episode of Total Bellas this season.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I even watched it in a season 2. I watched season 1.
But if they made a Molly Holly one.
No, I've watched her in interviews before. I just like wrestling Molly Holly. She's kind of boring. She's just kind of whatever it is. AJ Styles.
Greatest wrestler.
He is very, 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 very good. I don't know. There's no one really better than him right now.
He's always doing something different.
Yeah, and
like
it's like everything happened for a reason and whatever. But it is when you think about it, it's like imagine if he was here 10 years ago and we've had 10 years of AJ Styles in the WWE by now. Like, what? How different would that be? But everything happens for what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. This one might. I don't know if this is going to get you wild up or not, but it might. CM Punk, just his general attitude towards WWE now.
Childish. Get over yourself.
Yeah,
Okay.
I understand if you're bitter and stuff like that. Like, I've been bitter towards things and all you want to do is trash it, but you sort of realize that he's a public figure.
Yeah.
And it just comes across, even if he doesn't like it, he can kind of state that he doesn't like it, but you don't have to be an ass about it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you clearly he doesn't want to talk about it as much anymore, which is a good thing. Like, he doesn't have, he's got other things going on.
It's fine.
You know, like getting his ass kicked in UFC.
He got fired, didn't he?
I think he got fired.
But Dana White's just like,
he's just like,
look,
we're
man,
not. Like,
this
he's
is
just
not for you.
Yeah. And Punk really shouldn't. I don't know if he's even considering fighting again, but I don't think he should.
He shouldn't. He'll get
And
the
that's
shit
coming from,
punched
I'm
back
not the
in his
biggest
ass.
UFC mark. I'm not. I watch very little of UFC, but I know I know the main people of UFC are. I don't think it really sometimes, like, a lot of times I've noticed wrestling fans don't really generate towards UFC fans and back and forth. I don't notice that a lot. Maybe I'm talking out of field here, but I just don't.
Different demographics.
And it's like, when I watch UFC, I just think pro wrestling. I can't help it. And like, I'm like, what angle is going on here? Why don't these people like each other? Like, I'm just very in that pro wrestling world.
Well,
but I'm sure people that watch UFC then watch WWE are like, the fuck is this shit?
Sometimes with it, it's like this person is more close. Like they have to fight sometimes to contend for the championship.
Yeah, I know. And
but their build in the story more comes in like the conference and whatever when they're sitting next to each
it's
other.
just weird.
Shit talk each
my
other.
favorite aspect of wrestling sometimes isn't even the wrestling.
No, it's the
what
story.
happens before it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like watching UFC, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I don't know why the fuck the other two are beating the shit out of each other. Like, yeah, okay, it's cool. Like,
Because that is more sport driven than entertaining.
Yeah. And I think that's just my mindset of going into everything is okay, so this is a little bit different. Let's just spiral out into this. But sometimes when I'm talking to people that don't watch wrestling, I use wrestling terms and they look at me like, what the fuck are you saying?
You got to dumb it down.
Just yesterday, people were watching like Australian rules football upstairs on Saturday afternoon. And I was up there, like, I was sitting upstairs having my lunch break. And I was sitting up there and the football was on. I was upstairs on my own and I was about to turn it off when someone walked into the room. And I went to change the channel and he was like, no, don't change the channel. I want to watch the AFL, the Aussie Rules football, for those who don't know what it is. And I literally said at the top of my, like, to him, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to get this much heat. And he looked at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was like, oh, heat's not a word that people just use, like...
It's not an everyday thing.
It's not an everyday term. And I was just looking at him like, oh, don't worry. Like, I used the word heat. Like, I was just like, I'm going to get heat if I do this. And I'm just like, oh my God, I don't even realize what I'm saying sometimes. And like, not everyone speaks my lingo. Like, I'm just like... It's weird. I can talk about my wrestling friends and like say those terms and they're like, yeah, I know what that means. But if I talk about it with some just random person, they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
You look like an idiot.
Yeah, and they just look at me like... I got looked at like from him and he was just like, what the hell are you fucking saying? And I'm just like, oh shit, like how do I get myself out of this one? Like, wrestling terms just don't... I just speak them in general. Like, I can say getting over or I can
It is
say,
your language.
Yeah, like I'm just...
Like,
you know,
it's
I'm getting
English brackets WWE.
Yeah, I'm just like that wrestling lingo that nobody else knows about. And it's like, you're saying words like kayfabe and I'm getting over and like I'm like such a heel and like, you know, like,
And they're like, what?
yeah, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, if I said the word kayfabe to someone, they would look at me like I'm some kind of dumb shit. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
What language is that?
I don't even know, but that's just a random weird thing that I didn't even know why it went into. But
I'd stick with it.
I say it all the time,
Yeah.
and if people kind of look at me, I just kind of carry on with my conversation.
Flip them off.
Honestly, like, stone cold stunner at work and shit. But
And then have them do a rock cell where they do like a couple of flips.
oh my god, we were watching that just before.
Yeah, we were.
That's why he brought it up.
Yeah.
But just stuff like that, I don't even know half the time what I'm saying. But there is no greater feeling than when you're randomly, you know, it's not like I go up to random strangers and just talk about wrestling. But like, there is no greater feeling when someone
Just
knows what the
imagine.
shit you're talking about. Like, there's no better feeling than like, oh shit, this person watches wrestling. I could be this person's friend. Like, if I can't, for someone that, not for someone that doesn't watch wrestling, I can still be friends with. I'm not saying I'm some kind of weird fuck that doesn't talk to anyone unless they watch wrestling. But like, if someone started off and I mentioned pro wrestling and they were like, what the fuck is this bullshit? This is fake shit. I couldn't be friends with them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
not all of my friends watch wrestling, but my closest friends do.
It's not a bad thing.
There's only one friend that I
It's
have
what
that doesn't.
connected us.
Yeah, it's what connected a lot of people with me,
Yeah.
to be honest, because it's all I fucking talk about.
Mhm.
And when I'm sitting on my couch, I say words like, oh, I'm so over. And people are like, what the fuck? And it's like people in my house, they know what the hell I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. But yeah, like, that's just a random thought that came into my head. And I'm just like, what the, yeah. Well, there's not really too much more to say than this kind of, I just hope this kind of gave you an aspect of like our wrestling, kind of what we like and
Where we started.
yeah, and like what we kind of, you know, like about wrestling and stuff like that, just so you can get to know us a little bit more. Just so, yeah, you know where we're kind of coming from and where we're kind of going with wrestling and whatever it may be. But Ryan will be back on here many times, I'm sure, because
No, definitely my last time.
that's what he said last time as well. But he's just an ass.
No.
Okay, so I will see you guys next time on Wrestling Reverb, and as always, hit me up on Twitter, like my Facebook page, my Instagram. I'm on SoundCloud, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Apple Podcasts.
Go
I'm
to
on
our
YouTube.
Kickstarter.
If you want to give me money, I'm going to take your money. Because I love money.
Please.
I'm kidding. I am not kidding. I do
I'm
love
not.
money, but like I'm not
I
going to take
want it.
your money. But yeah, I'm on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, whatever kind of podcast listening thing.
LinkedIn.
I'm on a lot of. I'm on Discord. I'm on Discord now, which people have.
I didn't know
jumped
this
in.
thing. Skype as well,
I
if,
bet,
if
like,
that still
just,
exists.
Just whatever you can kind of think of. If I'm not on it,
MSG.
tweet at me and I'll try to get on it, because I'm trying to be on as many platforms as I can, because I want to get this
Audible.
just like wherever it can kind of go. So I will see you guys next time on Wrestling Reverb. Bye.
Fox.
Wrestling Reverb.